Jamie from Inky&Scrappy. Welcome back to all of my subscribers, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel grow. I am just playing with all those leftover, I shouldn't say leftover because I purposely colored extra pieces, but some of them were leftover from cards that were supposed to like go different directions. Yeah. So I'm just kind of laying them all out, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. I knew I had a lot. And so I knew I was going to need probably a slimline style card or something a little extra. And so I did end up deciding to do a platform pop-up because I could get 4 layers or 4 mini scenes. So to say, I think I actually end up with 5 mini scenes on my finished platform pop-up. We'll count as I go along. But I'm just working on filling in and adding images to other images, kind of getting how I want them to flow together a little bit better. So I kind of have things laid out and set together. So when I finally get to building my actual scenes, I have other things put together. This video is a part of my stamp set giveaway with the Furry and Bright stamp set. So this is video 3. You need to comment on all 3 of the videos in this stamp set series to be eligible to win the Pawsitive Christmas Stamp Set from Fawn. This is not sponsored by anybody. It is my personal giveaway, so I am totally responsible for it. YouTube is not, Fawn is not, and at all on that one. I will ship it worldwide, so if you are not in the United States, no problem. I will ship it to you. And all you have to do is comment on all 3 of those videos. If I do get around to getting the 4th video made, because I don't have anything planned yet, that one will count as an added bonus. So if you commented on all 3 videos, you get 1 chance, I guess, in the pot. And if you comment on all 3 and the 4th one, that 4th one will count as an extra name in the hat. So good luck. I am using all the dots paper pack, and I'm bringing in that Doodlebug Party Time paper pack again as well. I'm using the Doodlebug paper pack for my orange here. I'm cutting out my floor. You will see this flooring technique used at the end of the month on my Get Creeping on Halloween card. That one was actually done before this one. It was actually, there's a little bit of an inspiration one in there on a platform pop-up from my niece that kind of triggered the whole stamp set series on this one. But I was working on that one and not paying great attention, and so I kind of mucked up my flooring on that one, and I show in that one how to fix it if you don't add it at this point. But it reminded me to add it at this point and not when those T's are in there. So keep in mind, this is, to me, it was so hard to cut those orange ones. I did this at night. Maybe it's because my eyes were tired and the glare was, or it was the pattern on it and I just couldn't see where the cut lines were. I got them close. I didn't get them perfect, but adding it at this point, it was a lot easier to kind of trim them down, whatever the overhang was, because you'll see here, I can fold it and you see where it's hanging over, and then just carefully cutting along that line, not actually cutting the folded line there, but it was, you know, a simple way to straighten out those lines. A lot of times I put it in my paper cutter. I just couldn't see it for some odd reason. I'm pretty sure it was the patterns and my eyes were just tired. I've been dealing with headaches for the last week, so a lot of times I have a harder time concentrating on those fine details like that. At least my eyes have a harder time concentrating on them when I have a headache. I am bringing in some score tape, doing this before I actually add my T's to my platform pop-up. And yes, I don't know what I did with that roll of tape, but it just was not working for me. So I'm just going to go through and build that platform pop-up. If you want a slower version of the platform pop-up, I want to say it's probably my first video has a slower version of me putting it together. I did keep this at, I think, two times the speed. So if you want to go back and watch that, you are more than welcome to go back and watch how that gets put together in real time by slowing it down. For the most part, I don't have a rhyme or reason to how I do them. It's just how I grab my platform pop-up base. However my tea ends up going in, I, make sure that the folded line or the folded thing is towards that bottom section, and I go from there. I know I'm not very good when it comes to following the rules. And then for my floor pieces here, I am using the hillside piece from the platform pop-up. And then for my middle piece, I have cut just a scrap of paper a little bit larger or longer, wider than I need it for my middle layer there. I like to do the full one instead of a T. If you like to use the T, go ahead and use the T. It really doesn't matter. I like the stability that the bigger piece of paper has, but that's just me. And then again, with my score tape in the middle, and then I will add my other side of the panels or my platform pop-up box together in the middle. And yes, I do both score tape and liquid adhesive. I have adhesive. I call it adhesive trust issues. It's all good. I will remove that middle tape, add in some of that liquid adhesive in the middle there, and squish it all together. Lining it up pretty good. The liquid adhesive gives a teeny tiny little bit of wiggle room. Not a whole lot because I don't use a lot of liquid adhesive. I think if I used a little bit more on there, I probably would have a little bit more wiggle room. I really don't have a whole lot of wiggle room on that one. And then I'm using another piece of pattern paper from that the Party Time paper pack. And I totally cut it at an angle just so I could use up one of the sheets that I had cut some other stuff out of. And, I was trying to use up what I had already started, so I wasn't cutting another new piece of paper. And this way it just, kind of had a different look than that straight on look on the back or on the front of this one. And I don't know about you, but I have a really hard time getting the platform pop-up add-on to stay in place. I don't know if it runs into my base pieces or what. I don't know. I did end up snipping down the sides just a teeny tiny little bit there. I'm telling you, I struggle when I add it. It's fine once it's dry and in there. Maybe it's my patience that I don't let it dry long enough before I want to wiggle and move stuff. It's probably that one. And then for my front strip here, I am using, it's actually supposed to be the piece that goes around the front of the platform pop-up if you were going to put a bow on the front. But, I like to use it as an extra piece just to make my flooring a little bit, to give it a little bit of variation. I just need to cover up that white piece, and that's an easy way to do it. So this is the first scene or mini scene in my card here. Is the little puppy on the front with the party lights. So he is helping with the party decorations. Instead of doing the baking and the frosting and all of that fun stuff, he gets to do the decorating part. Personally, I like to do it all, so I probably am each one of those along the way when we do party things, because that's how I roll. But I usually start with the decorating ideas first, and then comes the, baking. Okay, first comes the cooking, then comes the baking. So the second little scene in there is going to be the little puppy dog and the bowl. And he is stirring up something good. So maybe he is whipping up the frosting. Maybe he's making the cake or the cupcakes. Or maybe he's making cookies. I don't know what he's up to. He didn't tell me that part. I'm pretty sure it involves sugar, though, because he likes sugar. And then, of course, those cute little chef hats come from the A Creature with Stirring stamp set. It's actually from on top of the little mouse's hat. So you'll see they kind of have a funky little gray spot on the one side of the hat. It's the little mouse's ear. I did not mask anything. I just kind of creatively stamped, and then I just kind of hand cut the parts that I didn't want on there anymore. And then I used some white gel pen and some black fine liner to kind of finish those out. I'll show you how I kind of cover up that less than perfect stamp job on my little chef hats. I just thought they were adorable little chef hats to put on top of the puppies. And then adding in a bunch of eggs and some butter, you know, to fill in that baking style scene. And then the next row is going to have some flour in it, along with some butter and, you know, the little dog there. Yep, you can see the top of my head. Freshly showered after the farm. And then I was kind of thinking I wasn't going to have room at all for the little puppy on the cake stand thing. But I end up switching this around a little bit. I'm working on laying out because, you know, I was just like trying to figure out how I was going to get all of the pieces in here all on one because truthfully, I didn't want to have to make another puppy birthday style card. I was like, I'm going to use all the pieces up because I knew if I kept any of the pieces left over, I was going to want to make another card with them. And then I'd have to color more images. And I kind of wanted to move on to my next color palette. So I decided this little puppy here is going to be like standing on his tiptoes, putting frosting on the top of the cupcakes. And then I think it was at about this point that I realized, you know, you could maybe use that third row back there instead of putting it on the back. Yeah, see, I was like, oh, I could put it on the back and finish up the back of the card with it. And then I was like, well, I was thinking. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to have to color something for the puppy to stand on so he can be seen. And then I realized, oh, yeah. I still have that third row back there. I don't know what I was thinking. It was late. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I did bring in a piece of clear acetate with some double-sided adhesive on it. And this will just allow me to kind of move up that back panel. If I'd have thought this out a little bit better, I could have made that back row a little bit taller. And, you know, it gave it a little bit more lift, so I didn't need to use the acetate picks. Technically, he's standing on the top of that little arch. It's just this way I actually had something to adhere it to. And then the cupcake is up in the air, but it will get covered with some of the other cupcakes will end up being underneath it, so it looks like it's holding it up, or something is holding it up, I guess. And then this way I can add in that little puppy that's sneaking up over the cake in the background on the cake stand. So that little puppy sneaking up over the cake, that cake is actually the stocking from Pawsitive Christmas. I just selectively stamped the top part of it and didn't stamp the bottom part of it. So I had those scallops from the stocking, and then I just did straight lines down to kind of make a birthday cake. So I'm just trying to finagle in all of those colored pieces that I had. I did end up with 4 leftover eggs, which is fine. I will put them in my stamp set to use at another time, as they're colored in a neutral tone, so I'm not too worried about adding them onto future cards when it comes to adding those in. So just trying to finish up my scenes with what I think they all need. And then add in that final cupcake there towards the bottom of that little hill. So we'll get that one in there. And then taking one last look to make sure that I like how everything is in there. I can see most of the puppies for the most part. I mean, you at least get to see where they're at. 5 was probably a little excessive for the platform pop-up. but you know, it was, I like a full scene, and it was definitely a full scene. I probably could have gotten another good 2 cards, if not 3, out of all of the pieces I had left. I did bring in some Stardust stickles to add to the top of my birthday cake back there, and then my cake on my cupcakes. I mean frosting on my cupcakes. I feel like it needs more sparkle, but I just don't know where I can add it because it's kind of tucked back in behind there. So I'm bringing in my glossy accents, and I will add those glossy accents to finish it up. I do end up, after it's all dry, coming back the next day, and I wasn't overly pleased with those hats yet. And so I was like, you know, I think if I put a little bit of glitter on the corner of each of them in the same spot, it will kind of finish out that, it'll bring that sparkle all the way forward, and it covers up just that tiny little imperfection on the hats. And I think it really does finish it off quite nicely. Remember to comment for your chance to win, and have a great rest of the day. Keep getting inky.